The Indian netizens call it the world's biggest democracy and a superpower in its own right. But step into the streets of India and the first thing to hit you isn't culture or color. It's the overwhelming stench of raw sewage, rotting garbage, and human waste. No, I'm not being dramatic. I'm being accurate. And if that sounds harsh, it's because someone needs to say it. India has a problem. A big, disgusting, in-your-face problem. You see it in the heaps of trash piled on street corners, in the cows rummaging through plastic bags, in kids playing barefoot next to open drains. And the worst part? This isn't hidden. It's out in the open, normalized, even romanticized by people who either don't care or have simply given up.
Oh my God.
Let's talk facts. India produces over 62 million tons of waste every year. Of that, only about 70% is collected, and less than 20% is processed. The rest, it just sits there, on sidewalks, in rivers, floating through city streets like it belongs. Slums don't have proper drainage, villages don't have toilets. Urban centers, those so-called smart cities, are drowning in their own filth. We're talking about a country that proudly brags about sending satellites into space and landing crafts on the moon, which looked like CGI by the way, but still can't keep poop off its roads. And no, I'm not exaggerating. This is all backed up by multiple data sources, so don't flood my comment sections angry Indian netizens like the way you flood sewage onto the streets. In fact, let's talk about open defecation, a phrase that's way too common in a country with over 1.4 billion people. As recently as 2019, a UNICEF report stated that around 15% of India's population still defecates in the open. That's roughly 200 million people squatting in fields, streets, and railway tracks because they don't have access to a basic toilet. You know what that leads to? Disease, pollution, and a vicious cycle of poverty and poor health. Even in places where toilets are available, many people simply don't use them. Cultural taboos, lack of awareness, and poor maintenance mean that government-built toilets often just become storage rooms, or worse, unusable blocks of cement filled with filth. Remember the Air India flight that had to be grounded after Indian passengers clogged the toilets with towels, pads, plastic, basically anything that wasn't their waste? They didn't even know how to use it. You've heard of the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, right? India's Grand Clean India mission, launched in 2014 by Narendra Modi himself. Billions of dollars poured in, countless photo ops, politicians holding brooms they've never used in their life. But what changed on the ground? Sure, the government claimed India became open defecation free by 2019, but that's a fantasy. Multiple independent studies, like those by the Research Institute for Compassionate Economics, have shown that open defecation is still rampant in rural areas. And even in cities, sanitation is a joke. Take Varanasi, Modi's own constituency. You'd think it'd be a model of cleanliness. Instead, it's a mess of clogged drains, plastic-stuffed gutters, and human waste flowing directly into the Ganges River, the same river people bathe in, drink from, and consider holy. And let's not forget Delhi, the capital. The Yamuna River, once a lifeline, is now a black, bubbling, toxic soup. Froth lines its surface. Raw sewage flows in daily, and people still wash clothes in it, kids swim in it, as if that's normal. And of course, the most holy Ganges River, which is polluted to high heaven and contains more than 1,400 times the acceptable amount of coliform bacteria found in feces, according to a local government report. And it's not just the rivers. Walk through the streets of any Indian city, Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata, Lucknow, and you'll find garbage everywhere. Not just wrappers and plastic bags, I'm talking animal carcasses, rotting food, diapers, syringes, and literal piles of human waste. And yes, cows stand right next to it, munching on garbage as if it's gourmet. So let's address the cow in the room, religion and tradition. The sacred cow, worshipped by many, roams freely in Indian cities. But it doesn't live in temples, it lives in garbage dumps, often feeding on plastic and dying from it. But talk about controlling stray cows, and suddenly it's a political and religious landmine. Hindu nationalists would prefer if you shut your mouth rather than talk about the cow that's clearly defecating everywhere on the dusty road. So, instead of fixing the problem, people just tiptoe around it. I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to be attacked by an angry mob either. This isn't just a hygiene issue, it's a public health crisis. In 2020 alone, India reported over 11 million cases of diarrhea in children under 5. A disease closely linked to poor sanitation and unsafe drinking water. Cholera, typhoid, hepatitis, and countless other preventable diseases continue to wreak havoc in communities that lack clean toilets and waste management. This is not a superpower, this is a super pooper. But let's zoom out for a second. Imagine being a tourist arriving with dreams of spiritual discovery and colorful festivals. You land in Delhi or Agra and are greeted not with incense and temples, but with the smell of piss, the sight of overflowing drains and children defecating in open fields. That's the reality. India spends millions advertising incredible India abroad, but if you want to see the real India, don't go to the Taj Mahal. Go a few streets over and take a deep breath. You can't fix a problem you refuse to admit, and India, frankly, is in deep denial. They point fingers at population, too many people, not enough infrastructure. But that excuse is getting old. Countries like Bangladesh have higher population density and better sanitation indicators. So what's India's excuse? They blame colonialism, poverty, weather, you name it. But the truth is, this is a failure of governance, priorities, and basic human decency. If you can build highways, launch satellites, and host G20 summits, then surely you can build a working toilet and manage your trash. You want to see just how neglected this issue is? In many Indian cities, manual scavenging is still a thing. Yes, in 2025, people, mostly from Dalit communities, still clean human excrement by hand. No gloves, no machines, just a bucket and a broom. It's inhumane, it's illegal, and it still happens, because nobody cares enough to fix it. And here's the sad irony. Indian culture is obsessed with purity and cleanliness, personally. You'll see people washing hands 3 times before eating, taking shoes off before entering homes, and washing after every bathroom visit. But step outside and suddenly all that goes out the window. There's a disconnect between personal hygiene and public sanitation. It's as if the streets don't count. As if the moment trash leaves your house, it stops being your problem. Why? Because of a deep-rooted belief that cleanliness is someone else's job, usually someone from a lower caste. It's systemic, it's ingrained, and it's killing India, literally and metaphorically. Civic sense is non-existent in the vast majority of the population's minds. So what now? What's the solution? First, education. Kids need to be taught that throwing trash on the street isn't normal, that peeing against a wall isn't okay, that a railway track is not a toilet, that cleaning is everyone's responsibility, not just the poor. Second, infrastructure. India needs to build more toilets, better sewage systems, proper garbage collection, and recycling units. Third, accountability. Corrupt contractors, lazy officials, and scam-ridden government schemes need to be exposed and punished. India doesn't need more slogans, it needs real action. And finally, cultural shift. Cleanliness must be seen as a matter of pride, not class. It should be as important to them as religion, cricket, or Bollywood. Because right now, India isn't just dirty, it's dangerously, embarrassingly, unapologetically filthy. And no amount of spin or nationalism can cover up that smell. If you found this eye-opening, then please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.